You guys gonna watch us in here?
I have to leave. Khalil's destroying daycare, so I have to
Hmm.
go bust his ass. Take him home.
Hello? 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 See, for some reason, this is doing audio, Tammy, but this is not doing, or this is doing video, but not audio.
Hmm. Mm-mm. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. How's it going?
Good, Miss Christie. How are you?
Doing great, Tammy. Thank you.
Good to see everybody.
Yes, it is. Had a great weekend at the beach last week in Destin. Refreshed and rejuvenated, ready to go.
Oh my gosh, that sounds awesome.
It was the best weather we've had in a long time.
Well, that's great, Christy. I'm glad you got some time to relax.
How are things going for you, Tammy?
They're actually going really well. We're still doing virtual.
Mhm.
And I'm not really sure. We had thought maybe in early November that we may resume in person, but I really don't know if that's going to happen at this point. So, but it's going well. It's going a lot better than I thought it would. And
Good.
it's just amazing the opportunities that we have to be able to monitor and to get on there and look at the virtual, because we're using the Google Classroom and
Yeah.
they're uploading their Zoom links to that. And it's just working out really well.
I know. Isn't it crazy how to think that something so stressful could turn into something so good for so many of us?
It really is. It's amazing. And, during this time, we need a few amazing things.
Exactly. I love that. Good job, Tammy.
Thank you, Christy.
Closest, yeah. Oh, yeah, I thought you was gonna say something bad. I was like, don't tell me that.
No.
Hello.
How's it going, John?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic.
All right.
Good morning, John. This is Tammy Cottle from Middle Kentucky.
Hey, Tammy. How are you?
I'm good. You doing okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Hey, Kim, I got a note from Adriana asking if I had any more information about Amanda Flanary, the new Head Start Collab Director. I don't have anything, so I've suggested that she just introduce herself this morning, and if there's anything else she wants to share, she can.
Okay, I never got that email you was referencing last week on the call, so that's why I had her ask.
Oh, God,
Thank you.
yeah, sure. So we did I could talk about this more in a minute, but I was kind of excited about it. On Friday, so you guys remember Jay McCord from our virtual event a few weeks ago. He's the one that talked about the multi-generational workplace. I did 4 separate 20 to 30-minute conversations with him on Friday that we recorded in sort of an interview format. And he's now taking those, editing them, putting them back together for us. So we're actually going to have some new content to put out there sort of on some of those issues. It was kind of neat. You know, we talked about some of the similar issues, but we then got into how you can
When again next year
effectively
too.
communicate and how you can boost morale. Really some interesting stuff that we can use as a basis going forward for some new tools. But the most important part that I learned from that was always stare at the camera when you're talking. Never stare at the
That's
people on the screen because it looks like you're looking down. So
They
you
probably,
always
I think they may have
look at the screen.
on a 1-year contract. I know the Lakers will try to keep him for sure.
Okay, gang.
Here.
Hey, Amanda, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you. How are
Amanda,
you?
I am going to go ahead and make you a co-host,
Okay.
and just so you can share your info. So 1 second.
Hey, Christy, how was vacation?
Amanda, it was wonderful. I was talking to Tammy earlier. I said it was the best week we've ever had in Destin.
Oh my gosh. Well, like I said, we're getting ready to go next month for my big birthday. Woohoo! So I'm excited to get some sunshine myself. And I see
Yes.
Kim over there. Hey, Kim.
For some reason, it's not letting me make you
Hey,
a co-host. Would you click and see if you can share your screen?
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
All right, let me see what I can figure out here.
Okay.
John, I think I had to do it. I think
There you
I
go.
did,
It's
so.
got you listed as a co-host now. Try again.
Aha, there we go.
Perfect. Okay, good. Okay, gang. So we've got a lot of folks on the line, and it is a little bit past noon. So I want to welcome everybody to our what have been weekly calls, and will soon again be weekly calls, as I know folks are sort of getting into the routines. Let's see, a few updates from us at the association. As I mentioned to a few minutes ago, we were having some good conversations with Jay McCord last week and recording some new content. We're also in the process of getting all of the videos that were recorded from the live virtual event edited and put together in a way that they can be both useful to those that were there and just wanted a refresher, but more importantly, figuring out a way that we can actually make them into modules so that you and or your staff could download them, view them, take a little quiz. We can verify that you actually watched it, and then we can work with EILA or ECE TRIS to make sure that you get credit for it. So, you know, that's going to bring, I think, some additional value and make it a little bit easier for those folks who need a few extra hours throughout the year. So we're going to use that as sort of the basis for jumping off into a new world of sort of online virtual learning, if you will. I did a call early last week with my colleagues in all of the other states. I think as most folks know, there are state associations in most of the other states, not all, but most. And they vary in size, they vary in sort of what they do and how they go about their business. But I think everyone is sort of wrestling with the same questions that we are, which is, you know, in this time of not being able to really meet in person, how are you providing services and value? And so they find themselves in the exact same place. Some of them have actually put together, and I think we're going to look at this in the next week or two. They've put together online tools that can be used as you are bringing new staff on board, that you would be able to access and just say, go, okay, welcome to, you know, the Paducah, you know, preschool Head Start. You're a brand new employee here. First thing you need to do after day one is go watch the KHSA onboarding for all new Head Start employees. So really putting some tools together that would be useful for folks in that regard. I heard last Thursday, I think Christy did too, heard from Myra Ingram, who folks know is the executive director of the Region 4 Head Start Association, Kentucky submitted a variety of applications. So we have our awards process every year, as most of you are familiar with, and there's a lot of different categories, whether it's for staff, whether it's for parents, whether it's for graduates of Head Start. And there were a lot of applications, and Kentucky had selected its award winners. But more importantly, we had advanced a whole sheaf of applications to the Region 4 Head Start Association and through them on to the national organization for consideration for these awards. Well, we heard from Myra last week, and without going into any details, because she hasn't provided us any details other than some basic numbers, of the 18 awards that the Region 4 Head Start Association is going to be announcing this week, Kentucky has won 6 of them. And 2 of those, which is very good, give yourselves a pat on the back, 2 of those 6 are actually national awards as well, and will be advancing on to the National Head Start Association selection. I can't remember the last time that's happened for us. I'm not sure if we've seen that before. I know that we've won some regional awards, but as far as advancing applicants to the national level, that's really great. So congratulations to everyone. We hopefully will have more information this week after the Region 4 Head Start Association board meets, in which those announcements are formally made, but we'll be sharing that with everyone. So Kentucky brought home 1/3 of the awards for the entire region. So that's significant. And I'm not sure that's ever happened before, but that's wonderful and great. Trying to think what else. We're just really trying to get caught up from the conference. I think looking forward, we're trying to look into 2021 and think about what's the legislative session going to look like? Are there ways that we can again make our presence known in Frankfort? That's why I'm so glad that Amanda's with us today. Amanda Flanary, who I think folks can see on the screen. Amanda is our brand new Kentucky Head Start Collaboration Director. Not only is she filling that role, but she's also serving as Deputy Executive Director of the Governor's Office of Early Childhood. So we had an opportunity a month or 2 ago to meet Amy Neal, who's the new Executive Director of that office. Amanda, I think, came on board January-ish, maybe somewhere around in there, not sure, but she'll let us know. And she has just taken over as of the 1st of this month, the Head Start collaboration role. So we wanted to have an opportunity for her to join us today, just to not only introduce herself, but to maybe talk a little bit about the office, about sort of what her and Amy are thinking about, what that role can be, and then to hear from you as the Head Start directors and leaders across the state. What are the things that you need from the Head Start Collaboration Director? Perhaps what are some of your expectations, and what are some of the challenges or problems that you're encountering right now that maybe the Collaboration Director can assist with? So with that, I want to turn it over to Amanda and let her just share a little bit about herself, about the office, and sort of what her plans are. So Amanda, the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Sean, for inviting me today. I am really, really excited about this work. I know there's some folks on here know that I've been in and around this office for quite some time, but I know some of you don't. So I will start with just a couple of, well, let's see. I'm not sure why there we go. So my slideshow stopped working. So first and foremost, these are my kiddos. You guys might know that I am married to someone who was a former Head Start Collaboration Office Director, Joe Roberts. And these are our 3 kiddos, my 3 step kiddos that I absolutely love. And actually my shirt there, this is for Mother's Day this past year, it says Bonus Mama Bear. And that's exactly what I am with these kids. So I just wanted to give you guys a little insight into who I am and what I've done over the course of the last 10 years or so. This is actually my 3rd time with the Governor's Office of Early Childhood, believe it or not. I came on back in 2012, shortly after the office was established. And in that role, I really focused on the community early childhood councils. So, you know, help support them with the request for applications when they're getting their grant, doing all of that sort of processing with them. Hopefully you guys are involved in your council. If not, I can answer any question you got. But we, you know, our office does see those and still sees those as a very critical component of the work that the Governor's Office of Early Childhood does. So I was there for about 3 years. And then I left to take a grant management position with the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. And then after that grant ended, I went and did some project management work with the Transportation Cabinet's IT department. So help them build applications to make road building easier, which I can go into that if anybody really wants to know, but I promise it's boring. And then had the opportunity last year to come back to the Governor's Office of Early Childhood with the preschool development grant dollars as a family engagement specialist. So really helped flesh out some of those plans and ideas that came through the PDG grant, excuse me, specifically related to family engagement. So was very involved in the redesign of the parent guides, was very involved in the rebuilding of the website, again, doing a lot of the work with the community early childhood councils and all of that. Ended up leaving last fall for a little bit. And then shortly after Governor Beshear took the mansion, they called me and asked me if I would like to come back. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but there was a lot of transition happening in our office during that time. So I kind of naturally stepped back into that community early childhood council spot. So helped do all of that work, you know, get the RFA out to folks and all of that. And then was given the opportunity after Sally left to come in and take her position as deputy director and as the Head Start Collaboration Office director. So with all that being said, I know a lot about local communities and how important Head Start is in that, but I don't know everything about Head Start. So for the next little bit, give me just a little bit of time so I can make sure I support you guys in the exact ways that you need, but I might need to reach out with some questions as we move forward. So that's just a little bit about me. I grew up in Paintsville, Kentucky, which is far, far eastern Kentucky, about 45 minutes away from the West Virginia border. And I have a sociology degree from the University of Louisville. So I've kind of been all over the state, and I live in downtown Frankfort now, which I absolutely love being here. So it's really a pleasure to meet everybody. I'm really excited about this work. But I did want to talk a little bit today about kind of where our office is headed. So as I said, there's been a lot of transition over the last year in terms of the work that was done with the preschool development grant and all of the work that came out of that. Linda Hampton, our executive director, left to go over to Save the Children. So we were without a director for a while. And I like to say with our staff, we're kind of in that norming, forming, storming team part right now. So what we're trying to do is really coalesce around a couple of things because our office is very, very small. And we really want to focus the work on a couple of key issues that we're going to work on. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But this first bullet here is the mission of the Governor's Office of Early Childhood. And this came out of the PDG. One of the big deliverables from PDG was to create a 5-year strategic plan for the early childhood system in the state. And so with that, there was a lot of facilitated conversations with the Early Childhood Advisory Council, and they all came to this mission statement for our office, which is to provide leadership and direction for the Commonwealth by providing a comprehensive and sustainable prenatal to 5 early childhood system that will ensure a strong foundation for all children. So really the goal of our office in terms of the Governor's Office of Early Childhood, which is, you know, the collab office sits inside of, is really to bring people together to continue this conversation of how can we serve families better across the state. Our role in that is really helping to facilitate that conversation across all the different components of the system to make sure that we are getting children the strong foundation that they need for success. And this one, I'm just going to throw this one up just because one of the things that I don't think a lot of folks know about Kentucky's system is that we actually were the first in the nation to do a lot of different things. So, for example, in 2000, we did the Kids Now legislation, which did a lot of stuff, but one of the biggest components that it did was dedicate 25% of the tobacco settlement funds directly towards early childhood programming. So that helps support a lot of the work that we do in terms of system building across the state. Kentucky was one of the very first states to establish some early childhood standards, which you guys, I'm sure you guys are aware of those and use those on a daily basis. Again, one of the first states to do that. Then in 2010, the previous Governor Beshear created the Governor's Office of Early Childhood, but there was also the creation of the kindergarten readiness definition for the state, which most states even today don't have. But that really helped us establish a way to define what kindergarten readiness means for the state, then create that kindergarten readiness screener so that we could start to measure the success of children long-term once they get into school. And then we did receive Race to the Top in 2014, which helped do a lot of different things across the state. But one of the biggest components of that is that we were able to increase our TQRIS, our tier quality rating system. Hold on one second. My husband's phone is in here ringing. Give me just 1 second. I apologize. And of course, it was potential spam. So then, last year we got the preschool development grant, and that had a lot of goals in it, which I'll be more than happy to talk to you about. There was a lot of reports that came out of that we're really utilizing at this point to make sure that we are moving all of that work forward. So if you're interested in learning more about some of those reports and recommendations that came from some national experts on how to grow our system, just feel free to reach out to me and I can talk a little bit more about that. So why are we doing all of this work? So what we know is that Kentucky has stayed pretty stagnant at about 50% of children ready for school. And it says for the last 5 years, but it's really been that since we instituted the screener. So, and what we also know is that leads to, or there's a connection that can be made between third grade math and reading proficiencies, because those have also stayed pretty stagnant in the last 5 years or so. So what we are trying to do is to take a look at that. That's what our office is taking a look at that and saying, okay, so we've been here for the last 5 years. How can we start to move that number? How can we make sure that more children are entering kindergarten ready? And what we've kind of talked about in terms of that is that we've got things that matter. We've got things that we can control. And then we need to really take a look at that centerpiece and say, what should we focus on? What are these small pieces that we should focus on to make sure that we're reaching that goal of more children entering kindergarten ready? So how does Head Start fit into that? So this is just a brief snapshot of the different state agencies that have something to do with early childhood support for families and for children. We've got the Division of Child Care that does the CCAP grants. We've got Head Start and Early Head Start. We've got the health department that have different programs for early care and education. We've got the Division of Maternal Health, and everybody has that goal, right? That everybody comes to kindergarten ready, but we're kind of going at it in a bunch of different ways. Everybody's doing it a little bit differently. And in understanding that Head Starts are federally funded, you guys have specific things that you have to do for your federal folks, but you're also part of Kentucky's early childhood system. And what I would really like to do as we kind of move forward through this is think about where Head Start fits inside of that system and how we can work more closely together to make sure that children are entering kindergarten ready. So one of the things that we did with the preschool development dollars is we did a fiscal map of Kentucky's early childhood system. And what we found is that just with the federal and the state and the tobacco master settlement dollars, there's over 30 different agencies in 3 different cabinets that are doing work towards early childhood care and education. And as you can see, some of them are direct services, some of them aren't direct services, like the work that we do on kind of the statewide coalition level. But that's a lot of different programs that are going in all kinds of different directions, again, with that same goal in mind of making sure that more children are ready for school. So in looking at this, again, what I'm hoping we can all come together and say is that Head Start is a key component to this. We know that the work that you do in your local community, you're going to know those folks better than anybody else, definitely better than us here on the state. And we need your help in trying to figure out how to do this better. And my last slide is just going to be a super high level view of how much money is spent in early childhood in the state of Kentucky. That fiscal mapping found that Kentucky spends $1.2 billion in early childhood programs a year, which is an amazing, astounding amount of funding. And again, that doesn't include, local philanthropic dollars that are coming into early childhood programming. It also doesn't include the Medicaid dollars that are focused towards the 0 to 5 categories. So, one of the things that I think that I always like to highlight with this particular slide is this little section down here that says, this 1.2 billion only is 3.5% of the enacted budget in fiscal year 18. But what we know is that the population of children 0 to 5 in the state is 7.4% of the population. So again, there's that kind of disconnect that just kind of says we've got a lot more children that aren't receiving those services that we really need to figure out how to help them better. So I think that's my last, yes, that's my last slide. That was for a different presentation. I apologize. So with all of that being said, one of the reasons that I'm really excited about this work, and I was talking with Joe about this last night, is that, a lot of times what happens is that this position, the collaboration office, comes to you guys and kind of gives you an update of what's happening with the Governor's Office of Early Childhood, and some of the work that's happening and some of that systems level work, and help you guys be connected to the work in that way. And I would like to ask that you guys come with us on some of these subcommittees that we're starting to redesign, and come and be part of the conversation with us as we're having this broader conversation about the system as a whole, because you guys are a critical component to making sure that children enter school ready. So with that, I will take any questions or, again, this is going to be the beginning of a long conversation. But if anybody has any questions or concerns or thoughts, I'd love to hear it. And how can I do better for you? That I need to ask that as well, actually. How can I create this office to work better for all of you guys that are out there in the field?
Okay, gang, you've got an open floor. We've got 21 or 20 some odd folks on here, so I think it would be interesting for us to have that conversation. So just unmute yourself and feel free to engage.
Amanda, this is Christy. I just want to thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming on and putting together an introduction video. One of the areas that, you and I have talked about before is just getting to know the programs individually, because as we've said 100 times, the needs in Paducah are different from the needs in Pikeville. And knowing the difference in our Head Start programs, when I was elected president and took on this role, I had a lot of learning myself to do in the differences between a school district grantee and the needs of a CAP agency grantee, and how that those operate differently, and especially just what goes on. So I think talking to I know you and I have talked about this before, but just so everybody else knows, just understanding and seeing how we all work together and how we're all each unique is definitely a benefit here in Kentucky. I think we've got the most unique setup, and definitely know that we're the best way to provide those comprehensive services to our children and families. So I'm excited about what you're going to do as our collab director, and I look forward to the partnership as well. So I thank you, Amanda, and anybody else join in. We've got a lot of experts here, and I think this is an important time for us to share with Amanda how we can partner together.
You know, Amanda, we find ourselves as an association right now. We just completed a strategic planning process, got that adopted at the beginning of the summer. We are now in the process of taking all of those objectives and goals and sort of operationalizing them. And I think one of the things that we've really talked about is trying to bring more voices to the table during Kentucky Head Start meetings, whether it's executive committee, whether it's board meetings, whether it's committees. And I know that your predecessor, Sally, played a really good role in attending those meetings, and certainly it would be our invitation. I hate to say expectation because, you know, that sounds more ominous than it is. But I think the invitation always stands to participate not only in executive committee meetings, but also within board meetings. We've even gone so far, I think, right now we're sort of sketching out some of those bylaw changes that'll be suggested to our board, but even recognizing, you know, sort of non-voting member roles, possibly even for the Head Start collaboration director, so that we can make sure that we have those voices at the table. Because, you know, the best way for people to participate is to not just be invited to one or two meetings, but to feel like they're an integral part of what an association like KHSA is.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I do see, you know, in attending those meetings as being a big part of the work that I'm going to do, for sure. So I'm definitely aware that that's going to be. I wish that we could say something like voluntold for the expectation.
Right, right.
But that is definitely, you know, something that I plan on continuing is the close collaboration that you guys had with Sally, for sure.
You know, so sort of along those lines, you'd mentioned sort of the revisioning or redevelopment of whether it's the not the CECCs, but the various committees and subcommittees that you have at the state level. Do you envision openings or roles for Head Start directors to participate directly with those groups, and sort of how might that happen? When might that happen?
So we have, we're slowly starting to kind of envision the subcommittees of our office. So kind of what happened with the preschool development dollars is we had so much money. We had a ton of different subcommittees and a ton of different work groups that had to all work at the same time to make sure we were meeting those deliverables. And now we don't have those funds, and we've got a much smaller staff. So what we're in the process of doing is moving those down to 4. Christy is part of our investment and alignment committee. And that group is really going to take a look at how can we utilize how the system currently stands. How do we align all of those different programs better, and possibly look at how we can blend and braid those funds so that we're not duplicating services. So that's a big, huge task that we're going to be looking at over the next several years. There's also going to be, and I've forgotten the specific name for it, but the professional development subcommittee and the TQRIS subcommittee have kind of combined. So those folks are going to continue to look at the quality components, and they're going to look at the professional development framework, continue looking at the standards and all of that kind of stuff. That particular committee hasn't been identified yet. So we're still, like I said, we're still in the process of putting all of these different pieces together. There's also going to be a accountability in something committee that's going to be looking at all the different data components that we have. And then there's going to be like a field committee that does the work with the community early childhood councils and that sort of stuff. So we're kind of calling those down into those 4 so that we can really do that targeted focus that we can do with such a small staff at this point. So with all of that being said, you know, if you have a specific interest in any of those topics, reach out and I can make sure that you're on those different committees. Or if you're interested in a specific committee, we are limiting a lot of the folks that are on the committees so that, again, we can keep that focus. But we'll definitely send any recommendations that you guys have up to those staff members for those committees.
Sure.
Anybody have any other questions about kind of the direction of our office? Or really, I would love to speak to what Christy was suggesting. I think one of the things that I would like to do over the course of the next little bit is, obviously I can't come and actually visit your programs, but I would love to schedule calls with each one of you and your staff so that I can get to know you, you can get to know me better, and I will get to know your programs a little bit better. So definitely be on the lookout for that in the coming days.
Yeah, that'll be really helpful. We've done some of that. Unfortunately, COVID got in the way of us doing it, but actually getting out physically and visiting programs and getting to know, you know, excuse me, you know, like they say, if you've seen one program, you've seen one program. So getting out and actually visiting people in their, what would you call it? Their normal everyday environment is always great. So we've seen Kim's program, we've seen Christy's program and Rhonda's program. So yeah.
And that was definitely one of the things when I was talking to Joe about this position and what would be helpful. He was like, the very first thing that you have to do is to reach out to all of them and say, you know, hi, let me learn about your program, because everybody does it so differently. So really starting off with that basis of understanding of how you guys each run your program differently.
Okay, other questions or comments for Amanda? Okay. Well, Amanda, thank you so very much for being a part of this conversation.
Absolutely. I'm really excited.
Yeah, and you're welcome to stick around. I don't know that we have anything else on our program other than just to ask folks if you've got anything to share, sort of good for the order. Anything exciting happening? All right, gang. Well, if there's not anything else, we will go ahead and adjourn. But Amanda, thank you for taking the time. We really look forward to working with you and learning more about some of the work that KHSA and GOEC can do collaboratively. All right. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.